Stubs. We're getting into spoilers now, because I've got a big question for you. They're together, they go to New York, third act happens, and then you guys are on your own. Here's spoilers now. Bob in the movie, who's introduced as just a fumbling character who's just there with them randomly, and then they figure out that he's got superpowers and stuff. Like, all that introduction is good. I feel is great to set up his character and likability, because he is endearing, I think.
Oh yeah,
as you're going through the motions and stuff with him. The thing that kind of like totally dejected me is how Julia Louis-Dreyfus is like trying to convince him, and throughout the whole thing, every time we've seen Valeria to this point, or Valentina, I'm sorry, she's not like a motherly, kind person. And then she tries to do that to
she's
Bob.
She's just trying to manipulate.
Well, I know,
that's
but
all
like,
it is.
But like,
there's nothing sincere
she should
there.
not be good at that.
Why not?
Haven't seen her do that.
There's plenty of awful people who can manipulate and turn on personality switches and charm and all that stuff.
I suppose, but it's just so weird for her to approach him with like seemingly good intentions when we haven't seen that at all. She knows
that's what this guy's got. He has emotional damage. She can recognize.
They've got
this
the dossier. They know exactly
to
manipulate him into doing what they need.
Not surprising at all. It's like, why wouldn't she be able to do that, right?
No, not the fact that she shouldn't be able to. It's just super out of character from what we've seen her do up until this point.
I don't think it's super out of character at all. Yeah. She's opportunistic.
It's manipulative.
She's opportunistic and manipulative. She's going to do whatever. And this is literally like, this is the only egg in her basket for everything. Well, at least we think for a few minutes, and then the way
she's hedging her bets.
She keeps moving and operating,
that's the best thing about her,
right?
is she's like the ultimate spin person.
Absolutely,
she could take any like downtrodden like worst case scenario and make it into a positive.
She will remain undefeated. Honestly, she reminds me of someone else who never loses. Is all I'm gonna say. Just even if they lose, they're gonna find a way to spin that into a win, no matter what.
Sure.
Yeah.
The Ian Malcolms of the world.
Right. Sure.
But anyways, so when she makes that, tries to get him under his thumb, and then he kind of figures it out for himself, that's where you get that Megamind kind of like mentality, where he's like, he literally drops the GOD, and I'm like, wow, okay, the complex on this guy. And he's like in his own right mind at that point. The Void hasn't taken over when that happens.
They talk about it. He's got a lot of damaged goods that he's dealing with just in general.
What do you think his powers were? Or like, how do they portray them? Like, what do you think that is?
I mean, essentially, he's just bringing them all into like a mental shadow realm.
Well, not just that,
more or less, right?
Like, he's basically making them relive their worst moments.
He takes them to their worst moments, right?
Then they have their standoff. When they have the fight, when he's using his abilities, what do you interpret that as?
Well, what do you mean? Like when
they're fighting,
when they all try and fight him, when they try to fight him,
right? What is that?
Well, he's super strong. He can fly. I mean, he can do all kinds of stuff.
No, he's doing stuff where it's like refracting their attacks. Like he's like, I kind of interpret it as like he's got a barrier around him that is like impenetrable.
Well, there were certainly, like he definitely appeared to have some kind of, because like the bullets, other than him Neo stopping them, somebody else did something and it like stopped short of him. Like there was a barrier there.
I thought at first, I was like, this is just telekinesis. He's just throwing them around and stuff.
Yeah.
But then everything like Yelena uses the Widow Bites on him, and you can see it like is it's like encompassing around him. It's not penetrating. It's like refracting off of it.
That's fine.
And it's just weird.
It's like, just there, right? I don't need to...
Because his powers, he's Superman. He's basically Superman.
He's just Superman,
like,
right.
And he can do a lot. He's got like energy projection in the comics, and he's got like, all the standard Superman kind of powers and stuff. And the stuff that we've seen him do in this, I don't think I've seen him do it in the comics. The Void may be able to do it, but like it's hard to give a different interpretation of a power set that isn't Superman. So I kind of got to give him credit for at least doing something sort of different.
Yeah.
Because you didn't have to you can't just do Superman again. Like, and he can't be Captain Marvel either. So
yeah, it was unique.
Florence Pugh's performance of being the most embarrassed teenager.
She is so good at it.
20, close to 30-year-old.
She's so good.
That is like her cringe level is so great throughout all of this.
She crushes it in this movie.
It is.
So later on, after they've had it handed to them
they're on the street
from Sentry, and she's out there and she's talking to Red Guardian.
Mm-hmm.
She crushes that little scene.
Yeah.
All of her, like,
that moment
is
where I was convinced. I was like, that is more endearing than anything Scarlett Johansson has done.
She is definitely the heart of this movie.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And that's why she's got the most scenes.
Yeah, and she's great in this movie. Again, I like everyone else. Again, Wyatt Russell, I think, does great. I don't know all the other people's names.
That bit where you're like, your Bucky throws out, your wife and son
when your wife
it's like,
took your kid
oh
away,
man,
and he's no longer. Oh yeah, man, yeah.
It even though you don't, like most people, if they didn't watch Falcon and Winter Soldier and stuff, you may not know like the
you didn't
full
need to know that full extent of that,
and it works though.
But it works.
But for that, especially getting the loser dad kind of like flashback that he does because of Bob's powers, like you get. Immediately get like his deal.
The whole picture is painted.
That's what's so great about these characters. The only one that gets shafted is Ghost. Ghost doesn't really get that moment.
Well, you think she gets shafted?
Well, Taskmaster gets totally
Taskmaster
shafted.
literally gets shot in the face and dies in the first 10 minutes of the movie. So
we were talking and we were like, what was the purpose of her? And it's literally
to raise the stakes.
To raise the stakes, but literally, it's like Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad introduced characters that are immediately killed off, and it's just because you got to have X amount of characters introduced for the marketing to get people to like have a bigger team than you think, Avengers levels type of team, and it's like, nope, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. I'm not disappointed, but it is a total waste.
I think, again, my gripe with... So, kind of to tie in with her, again, her whole ability is she is the ultimate combatant. She's supposed to be able to adapt.
No, I don't
to whoever
think so.
She's supposed to be able to adapt.
Oh, you're talking about Taskmaster?
Taskmaster. Taskmaster is supposed to be able to adapt to whatever fighting...
She's a mimic.
She's a mimic, right? You know what I mean? In her very brief time she's in the movie, they don't showcase that at all.
No,
actually...
No. I'm pretty sure that Natasha shoots her like repeatedly with a lot of gunfire, and at no point does anything penetrate the armor that she's wearing in that.
Sure, absolutely. So, fight choreography notes just in general, I would say Yelena's opening assault that she does on that lab is the best sequence in the movie as far as a fight goes.
The overhead Daredevil,
single
shot fight.
Yeah, it just looked good. There was great choreography. Yeah. It was well executed. And then everything after that is just kind of like, have him punch a bit, shoot a bit,
Right.
Have Cap, have him throw a shield, I guess, whatever they do,
best line so it's like, we're just guys that punch and shoot. Like, that's absolutely true. Actually, it's really disappointing that you've got three characters that basically have the exact same power set between Red Guardian, Walker, and Bucky.
Yeah.
And only one of them gets a shield.
Yeah.
And I'm like, give them both shields, man. Like, what difference does it make at this point?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Who cares, right?
They're basically carbon copies of each other anyways.
Yeah.
They're just varying degrees of temperament. So, but, okay, so going into the end of this, the fight... So Sentry goes crazy and becomes the Void. And were you shocked at that little girl?
Nah, I kind of saw it coming.
But it was
great. Again,
it was pretty great.
The execution of all of that to get to see Red Guardian have his moment and all that. But I knew
seeing
all those
extras get wiped out is way more impactful than seeing anyone get dusted, I think.
See, I disagree in the sense of I think they're equal. I think they're equal. Again, it's just, to me, I think
there's no way you watch Spider-Man get dusted and like, oh no, Peter Parker's gone forever. That little girl gets blasted and you're like, that girl's gone.
See, I disagree.
She is gone.
I didn't think anybody would be gone forever. Because again, they had already done too much to set Bob up as a sympathetic character.
In that moment, we don't think it's going to take over the whole city.
Bob was not going to end that movie the villain.
Bob's not in control. They are separate.
I understand that Bob
moment.
isn't in control. Bob isn't going to have to, like, there's no way they're going to leave that on Bob, and they're not going to have Bob kill himself, man.
I didn't think Bob was going to survive this.
Oh, I knew Bob was surviving.
Oh, well.
I mean, I didn't really know, but, like, my gut said. The whole point of the movie is redemption. Yelena can't get redemption without saving Bob.
That's not true. I knew that he was going to be fine
because he's in something else or whatever.
he's in the chairs. He's in the doomsday chairs.
That's what I'm saying. He's in the doomsday chairs.
So I was immediately like, well, in the moment, he is crazy powerful. He is like
very powerful.
As powerful, if not, I mean, it'd be cool to see them have a standoff between him and Captain Marvel. Like, they are both equal, if not Bob is probably a little more powerful, I would say. If we're going by comic century, I would say. But anyways, so seeing all those guys basically get shadowed, or as Jennifer put it, it's the equivalent of the atomic bomb, like atomizing essentially.
Yeah.
The
ghosted
shadow, the shadow people that get left behind, which is an interesting concept, I think, as far as like killing people without actually like showing the gore of killing people. It's not Dr. Manhattan level of like wiping people out.
Certainly not, no.
But so getting sucked into the psychosis, like worst memories and stuff, and going through that whole...
Let's talk about that third act, which is essentially... So yeah, since Yelena realizes to engage, the only way they're going to be able to engage the Sentry in any kind of meaningful way is to jump into the darkness with him. So she does.
Figures that out just because they had a connection?
I think so.
But she doesn't know that she's going... Well, she doesn't know. She takes a leap of faith.
I think she knows.
Maybe. But so she gets stuck in her own worst nightmare, and then she realizes she could break out of that, and then she starts sifting through, other memories and stuff that she has, which, man, like, seeing all those kids have to disassemble that gun, as soon as you see that whip, that's like, holy crap, that sucks.
Yeah.
That's terrible. But then you get into, Bob's memory, and then she kind of has that moment, which I was like, when did she walk into, like, the memory of
Bob's and Gregarious Games
room? It's Ready Player One.
Ready Player One.
Immediately thought of that. It's so weird.
Yeah.
But
it doesn't hurt. It doesn't help.
It's like the same
I think he's playing with a Rubik's Cube or something, or so, you know what I mean? Like
attic. That's
very
very
similar.
Yeah,
very similar.
Very coincidentally same.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bob has, obviously his trauma and stuff that I guess is the explanation for why his dark side personality or his dissociative disorder kind of like came about, because childhood trauma, bad parents,
everything. Then he got into drugs. I mean, it's just been a series of events, bad events, a series of bad swings.
Obviously, through the power of like being stronger than your other side, you're overcoming your personal demons. He thinks that he can beat his bad side to submission, which is
so he starts punching the void.
The void's like
we got some real dark side emperor business here. Give in to your hate.
What you want.
We just want you to try and beat it out of yourself.
That's what it wants, that it can overcome him with the hate that it feels for himself, I guess.
Well, it's just the darkness. It's just the void, the emptiness, the emptiness of that depression.
This is a psychologist, like worst dream or best dream as far as like trying to break down the motivations of this guy and his inner demons, this I don't know, mindscape that he creates for himself. Felt like it was a little too convenient that they all showed up there exactly at the same time.
I'm glad we honestly.
I didn't need it to be stretched out.
I was gonna say
anymore.
I'm glad we didn't get bogged down with seeing all their worst.
Point. Seeing two of Yelena's, like it kind of got irritating. How the repetition of her killing.
Yeah,
that
it was
girl,
like I understand the mechanism here. Let's get going, right?
Like that gunshot over and over again. I'm like, okay, I get it. Come on, let's go.
And it's not really a long movie.
No, it's not. It's just that repetition.
Yeah,
really,
no,
it really drives you nuts, I think, after so many times. So the other Thunderbolts, in air quotes, show up to, which the joke for the Thunderbolt name, did you get that the first time?
What do you mean?
She picks up in Red Guardian's apartment. She picks up the
She looks
the
at
photo
the soccer
of
team.
the soccer
I
team.
get it. Yeah.
And I didn't catch it at first when she says they're sponsored, blah, blah, blah.
There's a disagreement between the two. She says they're sponsored by one person. He says they're sponsored by another.
It's like a plumbing guy.
Yeah, that's what it is. And
but I don't remember her saying the name of the team as being the Thunderbolts in that moment.
Well, he says it.
It's not until she references it later when they're stuck together in the vault.
Yeah.
That she says the whole thing. Sponsored by whoever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's where they're going with the name.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's just...
All right, so
I mean, as it goes on, the joke, the running gag going on, like when Ava uses it later on is like the Wisconsin blah, 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 Thunderbolts.
Right. So...
Junior Soccer League.
Through togetherness.
Well, they all show up, and they all grab a hold of Bob, and because
they share the load, share the load of the Power Stone together.
Void is basically throwing them at the walls and trapping them and stuff. Which, if it's all in their mind, like,
isn't it the
doesn't Bob say you can't die here?
I kept thinking
you just experience a lot of
guys.
pain.
This is the Matrix. Did none of you watch the Matrix? Dude, this is all in your mind.
They all overcome their own worst moments
somehow,
and yet they still think it's real.
Well, I don't think they think it's real. They're still
Does the Void have the same abilities as Professor X?
Kind of, a little bit.
I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of similar at least.
Because it's a telekinetic or it's a telepathic attack.
Yeah.
That he's basically doing on all of them.
Yeah, right. I kind of.
Yeah, it's different, I guess. But I feel like we've seen it before.
Yeah.
I can't peg it if it's necessarily like a Professor X type of thing. Just reliving things and being within your own mindscape.
Was the Cell?
It kind of felt like the Cell a little.
Yeah, I mean, again, I didn't mind it. Again, like, as much as I griped about like how Marvel makes 2 movies, a lot of those movies kind of end in like very similar ways.
I did not guess that this is how this was going to end.
And going in, I definitely would not have ever guessed. Like you said,
it would have ended like, okay, well, they obviously can't go up against the Sentry, and so they're just going to like go like it's big sacrifice, or they take a chance on like a last ditch effort or something. I figured that they were going to pull together.
There will
be
a sacrifice they have to do.
Toss Yelena up to him so she could grab him and basically like make that like physical connection to break him out of it. And I mean, that would have been just as dumb. But no, through the power of friendship, everyone gets a hold of
Dominic Toretto style.
They basically family him out of it.
They family it out. So with that said, I have to say that I might have to start adjusting some of my criticism of Captain America, though, because Captain America
Brave New World. Okay.
So where I'm going here is that his big superpower at the end of the movie was, "Come here, big guy. Let me make you feel a little better."
That's fair.
Listen,
Sam is a counselor.
Sam would have made short work of this.
Probably.
People probably wouldn't have even... Bob probably wouldn't have even gotten on the drugs if he had just met Sam earlier.
As much as people complain that Sam Wilson should not be Captain America, he is he does what he represents exactly what Captain America should be able to do, which is to be the peacekeeper.
Sure.
He talks people down. He uses diplomacy to work things out rather than just going guns blazing.
I get it. And he was definitely needed in this movie.
I think, yes, absolutely.
He could have been their guiding light. He would have said, all right, you losers. Oh, my gosh, all of you.
Step aside,
Step
Butch.
aside. I will take care of Bob. This will be a 5-minute conversation over coffee.
Right.
We're going to do some jogging. I'm going to get him in a couple of We're going to go do some group sessions. I'm going to have this knocked out before you guys even know it. I can't wait for family to be what takes care of Dr. Doom is all I'm saying.
And they kind of make allusions to this as saying like the Avengers should not work, as Bruce Banner says, we're ticking time bomb, essentially.
Yeah.
Like those are all super egos that are all together and trying to work together as a team. This is like the most dysfunctional group of egos that you could possibly get together.
Just a bunch of self-interests,
they're all
actors.
Very
It's all
self-serving.
selfish, yeah.
Somehow they find commonality and decide they work together. They work better together than apart.
Well, again, they have a common enemy. They have someone. They've all been
It's
crossed
not a
by
common
one person.
enemy. It's like a common.
It is a common enemy.
It's a common. It's a common.
Threat to their existence.
No, like it's a common goal to save him.
Oh, with Bob?
Yeah, with Bob. Oh, you were thinking of Val as being the common enemy?
Val is certainly what catalyzes them to get
she
them
wants
together.
To kill them all, but
no, again, I think they all want Bob to have redemption because they themselves want that redemption.
Bob's the most innocent of them at the beginning,
innocent,
and they want to save him more than they want to save themselves.
Well, it's really Yelena who's the only one at the beginning.
Well, they all kind of make the choice to go in.
But by the end, they all kind of realize what they're in. And look, so it was good. It was good.
The power of family and friendship. They save Bob. The Void is pushed down.
Yeah.
No amount of therapy, I think, is going to get
him
back through. I think.
Don't worry. Just like
then,
Smart Hulk, he'll figure it out when the plot says it's time
when it's
to.
necessary.
That's right, buddy.
The Russos will figure out the moment when apparently Bob's got to work through
when the time is right.
it.
He'll get that all squared away.
Or he'll do a big sacrifice play, and then we don't have to worry about it.
Okay. Well, I mean,
doesn't matter.
Again, none of this is
so
going to
matter.
I hope that none of this matters in a few years. I'm good if none of this matters in a few years.
It'll suck. I feel endeared to Bob at this moment. I don't want to see him just go out like a punk.
I don't need a ton of Sentry content, man.
No, but again, as we've discussed, as an ensemble, you just have to have those moments.
Sure.
And as long as you've built off of that and you can have that endearing quality for some of these characters, you'll care for whatever they get into at the end.
Yeah.
So, anyways, at the end, they do probably the best bait
and switch
that
I kind of saw. I see this is another one I saw coming.
Going into it, yes, I was like, oh, she's gonna one up them, obviously, but I didn't think that it would
be that
what we thought what she spun it as.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is Val shows up at the end. They kind of advance on her to try and like either kill her or take her in. It's kind of up for debate.
Yeah.
And then and there was setup for this. We knew that she was gonna.
They did a very good job of breadcrumbing.
Right.
So when this happens, it's not ridiculous at all. It's like, oh my gosh.
When Val goes behind the curtain and then they come out the other side, there's a big old press junket, and she tries to one up them by saying, "This is my new superhero team."
Yes.
And I totally thought in that moment, I was like, "Holy crap!" If the Thunderbolts she already kind of scoffed at. She's going to say they can't say Dark Avengers. Dark Avengers doesn't make sense in the context of this world. But that's kind of what they are. But saying New Avengers, I was like, holy smokes. This is it. And it's totally on brand for what they tried to do with John Walker for Captain America.
Sure.
They tried to make a public facing, like they invent a Captain America. This is the corporatized version of the Avengers, if there could ever be one, to just say, here you go, public, this is them.
again,
this is what you wanted.
To me, it's Vought. It's the boys.
Well, everything is distilled from something else.
Yeah,
the boys.
It's fine.
The boys is still from other comic tropes.
Sure. Again, but this group of heroes, are very limited in their ability as far as. Sure, there's a lot of Earth level events that they can handle, but
Yelena already calls it like they think like aliens and the big bad stuff has happened already. Like they don't. That's probably also why all the other
to hear
big
everyone
heroes
talk about it, where they're just like to think that was in the past, like we're done.
Right?
Like,
yeah, we're done. Like the worst of the worst has happened. We don't need.
That's not going to happen anymore, right?
That's probably why an Avengers team isn't around at the moment, anyways, because
hasn't been a need.
There hasn't been a need for it. But establishing a team just because they need to, or because in the moment they're not necessary. But she spins it as like this was the plan all along.
Yeah.
Like here you go.
She is the just perfect opportunist.
Right.
Just
it's great.
She is again slimy in the best way.
Sure.
She occupies it so well.
And for it to end there and to see the newspaper spins after this, which
Very
is
good.
so on brand for what us as the reality
society, how we would react.
They said that this movie was going to be the new Avengers. The same headlines that we saw at the end of this credits would have been exactly what the real public would have been saying.
Sure.
All the posts, all the clickbait articles and stuff, it would have been Bevengers. It would have been
the internet hate would be strong, and
they to a T captured the reality of what we would have hated about the new Avengers in quotes team. It's great. It's the social commentary at the end credits for this is part of the best things I like about this movie.
That's cool. All right,
it's hilarious.
So a couple of things that I want to. We'll do a couple. So one thing I'm really quick. We talked about the silo. We talked about them escaping the death box that they get put into in the first act, right?
They have to Emperor's New Groove it out of there.
They have to Emperor's New Groove it out of there, right? The timing of that whole sequence and the whole series of events.
I hated the jump cuts.
Right.
Between...
So again, I didn't like the editing there because it's like, so you're trying to tell me that these guys were in that tube, this shaft, for like 14 hours, 16 hours, however long it would have taken Red Guardian to drive from DC to wherever they were. Where were they? Out in the desert,
Wyoming,
out in the desert somewhere, not a short drive.
I don't think Red Guardian was in DC.
He is in DC. That's where Yelena goes to see him earlier. He says, I moved to DC because I was hoping to network. He's driving Julia Louis-Dreyfus from that event.
Okay.
He is in DC. So he drives from DC.
Wait a second. That's not New York?
No, they're in DC for that.
Okay.
So after they leave DC, New York's even worse. That's even farther if that's the case. They are climbing.
Well, we don't know how Bucky gets them to
They
New
are
York.
climbing that tunnel.
Yeah.
The whole time Red Guardian drives.
During the jumps between the cuts of
those different sequences
of Val,
Bucky and Val,
and then the team,
You're
assuming that it's happening at the same time. No, it is literally happening at the same time because the Mel girl is giving her a play-by-play.
Yeah.
So that means that party happened for hours.
Sure. Why not? Again, it's not critical to the story. It's totally forgivable.
Kind of drags
a little bit. It's totally forgivable. But as I watched it, I was like, all right, I know I've got to just suspend disbelief here and just kind of go with what they're doing. But this isn't edited very well.
It's not done. No, it's pacing goes. It's not done well. But in order to get attached to the characters, it's totally necessary.
Well, I get that, but just stick with our characters then.
I would have preferred that. I would have preferred.
And then later on, use Princess Exposition
as soon as
to
they
catch
find
everything
out,
back up.
As soon as they find out that it's a death trap and stuff, you cut to Val's stuff. You do whatever you need to do within the party scene of Bucky getting in, handing off the business card. The congressman kind of trying to weasel his way into
trying to House of Cards things.
Right. I guess like trying to
work
trap her.
and grease the
Right.
Yeah.
You could have done all that in a quick 3 to 4 minute scene. Cut back to them in the vault and focus on them entirely.
Why does Val need to be at the vault at all?
Why does she need to go there?
Yeah.
To cover her bases, to prove that they can. Why they apparently movies don't exist in the MCU, because why they didn't think they were going to Ocean's 11 their way out of that?
I don't know.
And they're like, there's
Sure.
no possible way these expert spies would put on the gear of the guys we're sending in. You should have been checking masks as soon as anybody walked out of that thing.
I'm with you.
And
all
then, but yeah, it is a gripe that the pacing of that first act is a little rough, and then I think after we get through that and Bucky kind of has the chase scene, it flows a little better, with the exception of the Mind Palace stuff, and that drags a little more than I would like to think. But I don't know, what was the runtime on it?
I don't know. Well, so here's the thing, like it started at 7:30. We had previews.
We were out at like 9.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was definitely shorter than 2 hours.
Well, I'll check real quick.
Yeah, take a quick.
I mean, I guess it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things because it goes by pretty quick. But it's not a tight.
It's
not
says
tight.
2 hours and 6 minutes.
It's not tight.
10 of that is definitely credits at the end, though.
I could have.
And then you literally have the longest post-credit sequence they've ever done so far.
That was I feel that was necessary.
Well, no, that's definitely a strong point of this movie is that they delivered a very good.
So let's go just straight to the end.
Let's go right into
pacing problems aside, I feel like the mid-credits should have been the end. The joke with the Wheaties box could have been the stinger. I feel like the post credits could have just been in the mid credits, because the people that didn't want to stay through that unnecessarily long credits, there was, for some reason I felt like it was longer than most.
I thought a lot of that stuff, by the way, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I thought a lot of that stuff, I was like, this is AI generated.
What's that?
The artwork stuff, the stuff in the post credits, some of the art, some of the
Maybe.
visuals that they did, it just feels like it. And I know that's not the end of the world. I know people just don't seem to love that. It just feels like
Walker has his new Avengers get up.
Yeah.
The beret and stuff in some of those scenes, so it kind of cheats it, like showing all that at the beginning before we even get to the post-credits.
Yeah.
But that's not what also we noticed as the post-credits thing that was like a little too easy for as a lead-in.
Well, right. It was
because
the
music always ruins these stingers, I feel.
So
because if you get any kind of credit that is for a previous movie or a previous soundtrack for anything, you know exactly it's going to appear at the stinger at the end of some of these movies.
So as the credits were rolling.
The mid-credits is Red Guardian having his glory moment, being on the Wheaties box, which is a callback to earlier in the movie, because he says that it'd be great to be on a Wheaties box.
Yep.
And you see the New Avengers branded Wheaties box, which I would pay good money to have that box. I'm just saying. I'd love to have that as a piece of merchandise. Then he makes a little joke with the lady who's buying stuff at a grocery store. Tail end stinger is the New Avengers proper in the new Avengers Tower, I guess.
I don't know. The Avengers Tower with a Z, yeah.
Val calls it the Watchtower, which is true because the Sentry in comics, his base of operations is called the Watchtower. And when he gets introduced back into reality, back into the memory of the Avengers proper, the Watchtower appears on Avengers Tower, or Tony Stark's like tower, and that's where it lives through the majority of because the Sentry is introduced in the Brian Michael Bendis storyline of the New Avengers. He's reintroduced with the team of the New Avengers, which is not. Oh, it goes into comic Avengers proper storylines in Disassembled, and when Scarlet Witch says no more mutants, essentially, the Avengers is broken. There are no Avengers. When New Avengers is introduced, it's a ragtag just group of heroes that basically become known as the New Avengers, which is Luke Cage, Wolverine, Spider-Man, Miss Marvel, who's Carol Danvers at that time, the Sentry, I think maybe Iron Man. I can't remember for sure. Those guys for sure. Hawkeye's dead at that point, so I don't think that Hawkeye's there. Anyways, so when they are branded New Avengers for this Thunderbolts team, which is what I guess the asterisks had always represented.
I don't know. Sure, why not? Yeah.
Because it doesn't, at the end, it's the Thunderbolts, but then it changes to the New Avengers.
Right.
There's the joke with Red Guardian comes in. He's basically sold out.
He's in a NASCAR suit, as jumpsuit essentially that says New Avengers.
Is that a dig? I feel like that's a joke at. It's very Wayne's World. Garth being in all the Reebok gear.
Oh, I don't know. I mean,
it feels like it's it's like
he would think that's a good idea.
Well, no, as far as the tracksuit with all the branding, I feel like it's a joke in something else other than just this.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's.
Anyways, so yeah, he's got like Tide. He basically is in a NASCAR
Yeah, he has
uniform.
National sponsors on his.
He's like, I got
Avengers
one.
jumpsuit.
I got one for all of you.
Everyone has one, and they're all like, "Oh, thanks." Yeah,
but they are fighting about Sam having an Avengers, setting up an Avengers team, and him fighting for the trademark. And Bucky is basically like, "Well, did you talk about it?" And he's like, "It didn't go well."
Right.
And so like they're kind of back and forth on whether or not they should be calling themselves that. They all have kind of new gear on. John Walker still has the taco shield.
Yeah, the bent shield.
Which I kind of like. It's
sure,
stupid.
Why not?
It's not functional at all. But if you're going to own it, I guess just own it.
I guess just stick with what you got, right?
And then he's also, the joke of like, I also like that they're not all competent to the point where they're relying on like whatever the building's AI to talk to, give them like a sit rep report.
Yeah.
Because like Yelena is just talking into the iPad basically. And
Bucky's guiding her through what she should ask.
Like, give me information. Right? It's not, we're long since like Tony Stark, like basically just like boop, boop, boop.
Yeah, where Friday
and, like, calling
just
up
pops
everything.
in and is, Friday
Bruce is basically like they're science broing it essentially to give them all their intel and stuff.
Right.
They're literally relying on the Alexa of the building to
like,
just call up stuff.
What should I look at? Okay.
These guys are not tech people.
No.
It reinforces why they shouldn't be Avengers proper.
Right.
But like it's kind of still endearing that like they're out of their depth and stuff, but they're just going to make do with what they got. And then Walker, she says like, "Oh, there's a problem in space, or there's some anomaly in space." And Walker's like, "We got plenty of space."
Right.
Which is a great
just totally
joke.
Misses the.
It's a great joke.
No, because she says, or outer space.
Outer space.
And he's like, we're not out of space. There's plenty of room in here.
Right.
And he's just like, oh my God.
As long as this stinger goes on, it still reinforces that they work really well together still.
Yeah.
I think.
It's a good mix of characters.
It's still a good mix.
Yeah.
And then we get the reveal.
Yeah.
That the anomaly in space that Yelena calls up on their big screen is a ship that is coming into orbit. And what is that ship?
It's the Fantastic Four arc.
It is the Fantastic Four's space shuttle.
Yeah.
Which is pretty easy, I think, to guess what we assume Fantastic Four is going to end with.
Yeah, I think
I'm calling it pretty close to knowing exactly how it's going to end now.
Yeah.
Which, if you spoilers, if you don't want to know how
this is
Fantastic Four probably ends up.
Speculation spoilers. Like if you don't even want to hear what we think might happen,
I'm pretty sure this is what's going to happen.
Go for it, buddy, because I think you're right.
Galactus shows up. If you have not seen the trailers, but it's very easily to guess.
I saw the first trailer, so I know Galactus shows up.
Okay, Galactus shows up. Now, I love the Fantastic Four. They're my favorite superhero team. I might love them more, if not equal to Spider-Man. This movie should have always been set as a period piece. The Fantastic Four should have always been a period piece. They work better in the era that I think that they were created. They are very much a nuclear family that does not probably exist now anymore. If you were to try and modernize
this,
I don't think it would have worked as a modern family now than it would have been when the era that they were created. They were very much meant to be the idea of that nuclear family at the time. I think that the 60s era Fantastic Four movie is perfect. It's a perfect idea. The retro future that they're shooting for this movie, the theming and stuff that's going to be going along with it works in spades, in my opinion, as a fan of the Fantastic Four. I think it turns off a lot of people because they don't want to go for that retro kind of like look. I think that setting it in a period might be a detractor for a lot of people to go see it outside of it just being a big Marvel movie. But we know for sure, based off of this stinger, it is an alternate reality. I have no qualms guessing that the Fantastic Four, the Reed Richards, the Sue Storm that exists in that movie is one of the branched off realities that we've seen multiple times in this multiverse.
Sure. All kinds of, we know there's different.
They will have whatever they will deal with within the reality of that movie, and then that world, either that Earth or that reality, will get destroyed, and they are abandoning it. Their ship is coming to the MCU proper as literally an ark. They are escaping the destruction of their reality.
So here's what I want to...
Galactus destroys that reality.
Do you think that this is an intentional jump for that they end up in this universe?
I think that Reed realizes that he can't save it. Even though he's in the trailer, this isn't a spoiler for you. He says he will save you. He will save us, the people of the world.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
He can't. Which is the biggest detractor to Reed Richards as a character in the comic lore and stuff. Reed always has contingencies. He always has a plan. He's the smartest man on planet Earth. For him to fail, it's a huge arc. It's a huge character trait for Reed Richards, Pablo Pascal, of knowing he failed. Like his biggest thing in the comics. And one of the most endearing things in comics for the Fantastic Four is that he can't fix Ben Grimm.
Right.
The thing is always been the thing post, like when they get their powers. And even though Reed has tried and succeeded multiple times, it's never permanent.
Right.
He can never fix Ben Grimm and make him human again. This is just one more bigger like blemish on Reed Richards' psyche that he failed, and he won't let it happen again. Does this ruin anything for you any interest or any kind of drive for seeing the Fantastic Four first steps?
I mean, I was already going to see it. I was already interested in it.
But we know how it ends now.
Doesn't change anything.
Anything?
Again, I told you this movie, I think somebody can sit and tell you what happens in this movie and it's still enjoyable to watch.
Does it make it
Thunderbolts?
But does it make it less?
No,
less
it doesn't. It doesn't change anything. No, dude, if you're telling me, hey, it's going to end with Galactus consuming a planet, and I get to watch that,
it's never happened. We haven't seen it happen.
I'm ready for it. That's what I'm saying.
Even in the comics, he doesn't technically destroy Earth.
I'm totally cool with. I'm still game for that. Doesn't change anything at all. Again, I'm more curious about, does Reed know this salvation that this lifeboat? Does he know that he's leaving? Does he think he's leaving Earth? And he's just, does it like maybe he thinks he's jumping to Mars? Does he know he's gonna jump universes? Does he know he's gonna jump into another universe?
As far as we know, for the multiverse,
that's what I'm curious about.
There's very few people who can jump between realities. Okay. Multiverse of Madness pretty much clinches this. America Chavez is technically the only individual who can jump realities.
Right.
But we know the TVA can do it. We know, there's not many.
Well, it opens up at the end of the Marvels. Again, these anomalies
things can happen, and you can get dejected into
these
another
anomalies
reality.
Occur.
But can you do it on
does
purpose?
Reed? Does he figure this out?
The only way
I'm just curious.
The only way
I'm curious of how they're going to frame that.
The only way that I can assume that he figures it out is he's desperate, and it's not just Earth that Galactus destroys. It's the entire reality. And I don't think that they're going to go as far as like what Deadpool and Wolverine sets up as an anchor beam. Like if you have an anchor beam, your reality gets destroyed.
I don't think that even matters.
I don't think that that's really necessary at all for knowing who the MCU anchor beam is. If it's Peter Parker, is it Steve Rogers, whoever, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter because that's just a throwaway
I forgot anchor beam was a thing until you just said it right now.
Deadpool and Wolverine. I think that that's just a throwaway mythology thing that I don't think is necessary for the universe, for the MCU proper.
One of the many things that they just abandoned.
But I guess if I'm right, and Reed is desperate, he figures it out, and he just needs to escape. He needs to save his family. He can't save anybody else but his family, and he needs to escape, and he figures it out in like the last moments or whatever. Or maybe it's not Reed.
Silver Surfer?
No. If you have a Fantastic Four movie,
Doctor Doom,
and you don't have a Doctor Doom in it,
and
it's Doom who saves them.
I won't. Sure, like there's so much on the table. The thing about that though is, boy, that means Robert Downey Jr. knew he was Doom way before that announcement last summer.
They have Doom in Fantastic Four. He'll never take the mask off.
That could be fair. Sure.
You can have, and I would prefer this.
Do you literally want him just showing up and sparkle fingering though, and just saying, "Hey, I'm here to bail you out of this"?
No, not well. I don't know. We got no hints. There's nothing in the trailers. No hints at all that Doom would ever be in this movie proper. But I feel like if you seeded it in and he was known to them, or somehow he's just in the background or whatever. I don't know. I'd like to see it. And I think it really would stick, if it's a character trait, really stick in Reed's craw to say that Doom saved them in that last moment rather than he himself. But then it also sets up Doomsday.
See, I think that here's the thing, like
Doom jumping realities, being saved with the family, and being put into the MCU proper.
I get that.
Basically
so that
sets
sense.
up Doomsday as
this is why they all get brought in, right? I get that. I think
then he goes on his tirade of trying to take over the MCU Earth proper.
I think I don't think you're going to be able to get that kind of depth out of Reed Richards in one movie. Like you're leaning into like
you don't have to do
a huge catalog of experience.
Doing the origin. It's doing no origin. So
I get
outside
that.
Of setting up the family,
they talk about the origin a little bit at least. I know, right?
You know what? So. This can all be summed up very well with, as every modern Godzilla movie has done, clip show at the beginning of the titles,
making the credits a clip show.
You do the origin at the beginning. You show what's his name from the bear. Rocky, the normal guy getting some rocky texture forming on his hands and stuff. Gosh. There's your mutation from Ben Grimm to the Thing. Throw it into the credits. Roll that out. It's perfectly fine. And then it's all family dynamic stuff, character stuff for the entire movie. Silver Surfer shows up or whatever, as whatever your second act threat is. You introduce Galactus at the end. They fail. Doom shows up to get him out of it. Whether or not he's peppered throughout the movie or not, I want to say probably not. He has to be there. Otherwise, how do you explain Avengers?
That's not for me to figure out. That's for them to figure out.
I feel like that
I will say it certainly would help. It would help if they were to do that. Because, yeah, trying to throw it all in one with that cast and everything on top of it, it's going to be pretty rough. I think it's even going to be tough even if they include him in Fantastic Four.
How else do you do it? Other than at the beginning of an Avengers movie, you introduce Doctor Doom for the first time and you're like, you pull an Ultron for him?
Well, think about it.
And he means nothing?
If you didn't watch all of the MCU movies,
you don't have to for him.
I'm saying Thanos gets explained in his movie.
He's got two, technically.
Sure, but in Infinity War, you get Thanos is fully realized in an
Well, that's why
Infinity
the
War.
Avengers movies, just by themselves, are perfectly fine if you watch them in a bubble.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because Thanos is only a clunky Guardians of the Galaxy scene, and then one post-credit scene other than that.
No, he's popped in. No, end of Avengers.
That's nothing.
He pops in. He's in the
Guardians.
Ronan talks to him on a wall, and then he's at the end of Guardian. Is he at the end of Guardians?
No, he is at the end of Age of Ultron. He gets the gauntlet. That's it, though. That's what I'm saying. The
stinger at that.
He doesn't have any
"Fine, I'll do it myself"
time in those movies. But dude, he's fully realized and fully works.
You don't need to set him up. You just need to set up the stones.
And that's fine. But again, I'm just saying, as far as like, can they just bring Doctor Doom in and Doomsday and make it work? I feel like they've shown they can.
Us as the audience knows Thanos is more of a credible threat because he's been teased. And I think that makes it more...
he certainly loomed
vilified
in dialogue and was like... There was a presence. And we also kind of knew, like... I think there was just enough nerd chatter that even the casuals... like, were familiar enough that they knew it was the thing that was coming eventually.
And unfortunately, even though, plans changed and stuff, and Doom is,
this
a replacement for Kang,
plan B, right? Yeah.
Maybe if you're right, if you're just playing off of the fan chatter and stuff, introducing Downey early makes it easier for the public to know who Doom is going in.
I think so, yeah.
Than just literally him getting introduced.
They're not. People aren't going in completely blind because they have nerds like us to say, oh,
I guess.
Oh. All right.
Well, that's true.
So look,
anyways, that's my theory. I think in 2 months we'll know
a
for
little
sure
more.
to see
we'll
if
know a little more.
July. Yeah, it's a little ways, but I feel like that sounds pretty accurate to how things are going to go. I don't know. I don't go deep diving into, actual like spoilers, go looking for like every little piece that's on the internet that's saying exactly what the plot is. I'm only going off of what trailers I've seen and what I can deduce based off of just how narrative storytelling should go.
Yeah.
But I feel like that I'm right.
Well, I think at this point, I almost feel like they've set that table so neatly that like, it's the obvious thing, and I wonder if they'll subvert that. I wonder if they'll mess with it somehow. But we'll just have to find out.
Marvel has subverted expectations.
There's a little bit of history of that, right?
It's in this. It's in Thunderbolts.
Sure.
That name means nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
So, and they've done it before, so why not?
All right, so we'll see.
I would be very surprised if they do it a different way. If it's like... The worst possible thing I could think of is that it's like that ship is entering the atmosphere and it's there for a second and then gone and then they don't even reference it.
Well, that'd be awful.
That would be awful.
Yeah, I don't think that's not. Again, it's just
that's subverting expectations and you want to just stick it into anybody who has good credible theories.
Like, yeah, that would just they'd never make money again. That would be the end.
Then we're back to, the entire other podcast of just never paying off for anything.
Oh, goodness, yes. Another loose thread, another loose end.
But no, it based on the cadence of how the rest of these movies are supposed to go, Fantastic Four is the last one for this year.
Yeah.
Not counting whatever they're going to deal with TV shows and stuff, which from what I'm to understand shouldn't have anything to do with this. It's all fringe setup stuff. It would have to lead directly into Doomsday. It could not.
Stubs.
All done.